LPF Debrief.
Welcome, fellow last placers, to another episode of LPF Debrief, where Chris and I talk about TV shows, movies, and comic books. And on today's episode, we will be discussing Halo Episode 6. Show title is, episode title is Solace, and it was directed by Jonathan Lisman and written by Silka Luisa, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and Stephen Kane. So we, as always, guys, we're going to start the episode the same way we always do, by shaming Yendi for not watching any of the content that we watch.
Shame.
And if you guys are wondering why we're wearing the same shirts, it's because we recorded this and the Moon Knight episode on the same.
Oh no!
Yeah. So don't judge us. That's what's happening. All right.
You disappeared for a second.
Did I?
Yeah.
Where'd I go?
You didn't disappear. It's probably my internet connection. But
Okay.
all it got was the reason why we're wearing the same shirts is because we were recording an episode before. That's what he was saying.
Okay.
All right, but
So,
don't
yeah.
judge us.
All right.
We're
But yeah,
good. We're good.
We'll fix it anyway. But as always, there is going to be spoilers ahead. And guys, please like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Share, let a friend know if they're watching the same stuff. Comment. We want to know what you guys thought about the episode. So, getting right into it, Chris, Halo Episode 6. What'd you think?
The show should be called Halsey, not Halo. Yeah.
What did I say last episode of this? I said I feel like this show would be better if Master Chief wasn't in the show. Like, I don't necessarily need Master Chief in this show. I'm not, like, again, I've already accepted all the changes that's been made. That's okay. I'm just trying to figure out, what is Master Chief's purpose in this TV show? That if you couldn't replace that character with someone else without changing who we know as Master Chief.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. But go ahead.
But anyway, I'm having fun still. Bree actually got into this, so I feel like, all right, this show hasn't lost too much hope because the people that are not a part of the Halo world are enjoying it, because she was in.
Of course.
And I told her, I'm like, the show's not doing well for the people that are fans because of the changes. And she's like, really? What's wrong with it? I was just like, it's just some, like, if you've been playing the games and stuff like that, there's big changes.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, okay. But I'm liking the drama a lot. This episode, it kind of gives me a little bit of it's giving me more certainty on my prediction of, like, okay, Halsey, this is literally Halsey's origin story, and we're gonna get rid of her because they're slowly doing it, even though she's still kind of around. Whenever they got rid of her, and they're like, yeah, you're gonna be in your own office away. Chief gets his justice, and Keyes, Miranda is gonna step up. I was like, cool, because the Spartans like Miranda, so they're working together. So now we're seeing them work together, which I thought was cool. And I had to get, with this episode, I had to get past the whole Maki pretending, because to me it looked bad and cheesy. But I don't know if that's just because it actually is bad and cheesy, or it's because we know she's faking it. So, but there was moments where I was just like, okay, she's doing well. But there was moments where I'm like, you're laying on way too thick here. And the fact that one of the soldiers that's standing out front already smells the BS. He's like, the Covenant don't capture people. There's no chance. She's one of them. So, and the fact that Miranda's even like, well, maybe she's trying to take away the biggest threat to the Covenant, and Chief is still like, nah, I think she has something. I think she's right. I gotta know. So, yeah, it was those moments, but also not having the other two Spartans, right? The two black Spartans be out of the loop. You know what I mean? It feels like there's like a bump in the road, because whenever you go in there and what's her name? What's the other one that took out her?
Kai?
Yeah, Kai. When she's in there, you could tell she's about to say something, and then I think she didn't want to ruin it for them.
She didn't remember, because Chief kind of was like, when they're not ready.
Yeah, they're not ready. So it's like, it's one of those moments where I'm like, okay, well, now we have this awkward situation. Like the team's gonna be split. One, the Spartan laser, we're gonna see it. They were looking
Oh
at
yeah.
schematics. I'm like, okay, I'm ready for it. Here we go. So I'm happy that they showed us. I like that they keep showing us weapons of like, oh yeah, this weapon shows up, and then a couple episodes later we see him use it, and it's great. But overall, I did enjoy this episode and where they took it. Um, and I just hope that it's getting everything out of the way. My prediction on the season finale was wrong because they showed us Halo in this one, and I totally thought it was gonna that end scene. I thought that's how it was going to end
They
the
should have,
series.
but
So yeah,
well, that episode that episode should have ended that with them on there. Like that would have been a way better cliffhanger,
they
in
did,
my
didn't they?
opinion.
What was the cliffhanger? I can't remember. I
No,
literally just watched it too.
yeah, I'm not. I think it was. It might have been, or was he like? Oh yeah, it was, and then it showed like Chief's face,
And I
and
said,
then it went
if
away.
I find out that that's his sister, or if they kiss right now, I'm pissed.
Well, I
So,
didn't listen. Let me whenever you're done,
yeah,
I'll
you're
get
good. Go
into it.
ahead. You go.
All
Go
right.
ahead. Go
So
ahead.
here's my thing about, like I said, this show. I thought this episode was actually really good. I thought it was a strong episode, and of course, I'll tell you those reasons why I liked it. And my issue with the show is just it's always going to be the same issues. But the reason why I like this episode, one, we didn't have any qualm in this episode, and like I said, if
And we
when
did
you
fine.
when, yeah, exactly. So, which further lets me know that that whole piece, we don't need them in the show, okay? Because it's not a necessity to the show. And again, how exactly at this point that we're in, and the way that this episode ended, how do you even reintroduce them into this?
I think he's gonna go
Like,
back because he does. She does show up for a second, and it's before he
well, no,
puts
yeah, he sees
Halsey
her,
in
but that was
and that was a vision or
yeah, but
whatever.
that was just because like she was asking if you were all right. But like even then, it wasn't. That's not something like you could have replaced Cortana
Yeah.
saying that. Like you know what I mean? My thing is again, I don't mind when characters come into, and it's nothing against the actor. It's when I don't see the purpose of a character. Like that emotional attachment that Chief is supposed to have can be had with Cortana. Like you know what I mean? Quam's character wasn't necessary to progress the story, in my opinion. One, like they just used it so that he could show his face and show a form of humanity, which you could have done another way. And then on top of that, you could have that relationship anyway. That time that we've been wasting could have stuck with what was this episode, which was all those characters that we actually want to know about, right? So like we got a little bit more into Miranda's character, which I thought was great. We got a little bit more into Key's character. We find out why, we find out what Halsey has on on the cap. We know all this information now. Like, you know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying as far as I don't think it should have taken us 6 episodes to get here. Like the fact that it's taken us 6 episodes is because they've been trying to explain what the other things are, and we don't need those. Like, I think if you're going to do this style of chief where it's a more intimate chief, we just need to know about him. Like, I don't think we need to know, we don't need any of the other stuff. We just need the information on him. And if that results in meaning you cut an episode or you make the series shorter, like either way, sometimes less is more. And I feel like because of that, you can, the 10 episodes is just too long because now we're just getting, again, abundance with all this information. Because if this episode was like episode 3 and there was 6 episodes of this would have been a perfect mid-season finale. Perfect. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you did episode 1 where we saw all that cool stuff, right? You don't even pay any attention to Quam or any of that stuff. Episode 2, they find the second artifact, right? They do all that stuff. They have that big battle scene. Episode 3, we get a bunch of explanations on the Spartans. You could even put Key's, you could have made Kai's character do the take out the pellet in episode 2 also. Like, and then you get to episode 3, here's the explanation on why. Here's how we're turning on you, Halsey. This is all that bull crap you put on. Here's us finding. And I agree with you on the sense of they should have never told, like, I feel like with Maki's character, it's because we know.
Yeah.
we know she's lying.
Yeah,
So
we
like
shouldn't we
because
shouldn't have done that because I was
like
like because now every time I see it I'm like this is so bad.
it's so dumb
Uh,
because at the point like we know she's lying. We have there's no like the and like you said, the character in front of the thing. I know they're trying to be like, well, now that Chief has taken out his pellet, he's not as like confrontational and he's finally found someone who's like him and all that stuff. But it's just not it still feels cheesy and bad because we already know the reveal. We know she's evil. We know she's trying to kill him. We know her goals already, and you're
Also,
trying,
yeah, go ahead and finish your
yeah,
point.
and you're trying to make us believe that now Chief, because he has all these emotions, is going to be like still not fully think the situation out. Like, oh, she might be doing this, she might be doing that. Like, you know what I mean? I don't I don't feel like, yes, I get it. It's one of his first times like, actually feeling emotional and stuff like that. But again, it's just one of those things where it's like where I'm so interested to see where we end up because if you're still treating this like a prequel, I don't know how we get to the chief that we know, like at all. Like at this point, I feel like our chief is gone. Like we're not getting our chief. Like you know what I mean? So I feel like there's just certain things that I feel like you could have pleased both fans still, right?
uh with the whole Maki thing too. I think it would have been better if they since they did tell us she needs to be doing more in my opinion. Like do the things behind the scenes of like let her walk around the ship and then she
Mhm.
goes into a hidden room and she's doing stuff. You know what I mean? Like let her go around and lie to the troops and stuff like
Mhm.
that instead of keeping her in this cell and then Chief comes in and she has to put on this act.
Yeah.
And the only time we see her lash out randomly is her because she's getting frustrated. Also, I think that cup scene is a blooper scene. I guarantee you they laugh there because whenever she has that emotion and she's like, "Listen to me," and
Mhm.
she's like, "Beep,"
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
cup just got. I was like, "All
Yeah.
right,
What's going on
what are we
here?
doing?" But okay. Yeah, I definitely think her character would have been stronger. Like that decision would have been stronger if she was able to roam around the ship and play her part of like I need to make them trust me and be a part, which I'm gonna assume is gonna happen the next episode because since Chief and her end up in the same spot, he's gonna because he saw her there, he's gonna give her full trust of
Yeah.
just like yeah she knows what's going on. So I bet she's gonna stay with Miranda in her lab and do her thing there. So
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's very. There's just some choices that I feel like, again, I just feel like they're not super necessary. I'm not this whole like connective of Master Chief and another person being like, and again, this is one of those things that I don't like. I don't like this in a lot of worlds, and it's not just Halo. Like, if you're gonna have a 1 in a billion person, let that person be the 1 in a billion person. Don't let someone else just randomly become that like you know what I mean, like especially a character we never heard about from the games or any of that stuff. Like you know what I mean, it just feels like you've shrunk your universe so much, especially in the time that we have, right? Like you've just shrunken that world. Like now you have to explain why they both have this, like you know what I mean, because it won't make sense if you don't. So and I don't know if we're going to get to that place, but it's one of my major issues with the Star Wars movies. Like it's well, you have such a expansive universe, right? Like you don't have to shorten it by having everyone have like within the same facility or same family. Because I mean now it's just like, well, now you have to explain where her and Chief came from. Because obviously they came from the same spot, right? So I just feel like I think I'm gonna stick with saying that I think the show would have been better for both fans if it was if Master Chief wasn't in it. Because what you could have done, and this is just me and how I feel, maybe I don't know if that would have worked because I feel like everyone who has played the games or who has liked that storyline has stopped watching. Besides like me and like what I mean, I just feel like that fan base is already gone now. Like what I mean, because I mean, just reading some of the IGN comments and people in like Reddit posts, they're just like the constant need to take his helmet off is annoying, so I stopped watching it. Like just from the things that I've picked up. So, but like you said, the fans who are the casual fans and the people who don't know anything about Halo, they are enjoying it because I do feel like it's a good story that is being told. I just feel like you don't need Master Chief to do it. And then what you could have done is you could have had any other person have that same feeling, right? And then at the end of season two, at the end of season one, you bring Master Chief in and you just tell us the Halo story,
Yeah.
like from that perspective, without having to put all of this. Like, you could have done the whole thing of Halsey being Halsey and creating Cortana, and we could have made it the chip thing, which I still don't like that it's a brain stuff, because then it makes no sense actually. Because when he's like, "Well, I don't need you anymore," or whatever, like, and then she's just like, "Oh," tries to go away. How? Like, how does she just how? Like, she's stuck in his brain at this point. Like, that would have made that's another choice that would have just been better if she was the computer thing, because he could have been like, "I don't need you anymore," takes her out, and let's say he puts her somewhere else, and then yes, she tries to find a way to hack her way into
Halsey's
seeing
head.
Halsey and stuff like that. That makes more sense to me. How is it now that he's not even connected to the suit? So what exactly? How is she being able to get through these gateways just randomly? Like, I mean, when she's in his brain,
Yeah.
like, I don't like that kind of stuff. To me is just like, again, you made a change to the character that actually feels more harmful because it makes less sense to me, instead of using the chip thing. Because we could have used the chip, you could have put her somewhere else, and then she was trying to find a way to get to, like, access to the computers and stuff like that. So I just feel like this show is just doing too much to be different. And I that's usually what I have my issues with when it comes to video game movies and TV shows and contents like that. I just feel like once you get to the point where you're just trying to change too much in order to say that it's your own, you start to you start to lose you start to lose a fan base. I'm not saying that this show is not doing well, because I don't know, we don't have any of the numbers. I don't know, but I'm just saying, as far as people who enjoyed Halo and who loved Halo, I know the ones that I've spoken to are not like the biggest fan of the show. So I am interested to see how well this show does. We will find out soon, if within the next month, if they're going to get a season two. So or if we're even going to need a season two. So I mean, that's how I feel about this show. I think they definitely could have done. They could do some things better. But this was a really strong episode, though, and I feel like, with all the points that I said earlier, is why it was a strong episode, and it just proves what I was saying earlier. Earlier episodes of Debrief is just like, there's some things that we just didn't need, and I feel like now seeing an episode fully of not having Quam in the episode and not having Soren in it, and just dealing with the issue at hand, I think it makes for a better show, and I think you could have done that. You didn't necessarily need Master Chief to do it.
Do you think that Chief gets the pellet back at some point? Or that we get
I don't know.
another clone of John or something like that? Because like his emotion right now, right? The whole Halsey scene
Yeah,
was intense, right? Like
yeah.
it's like don't mess with Master Chief. He's very smart. He was very intelligent in that moment when he
Hmm.
knew everything. He did. You saw what a Spartan is supposed to do. He's supposed to know all the ins and outs of a system. And he's like, well, actually, like this went wrong, and this guy was in here, and this was actually never fixed. So in theory, if I do this, and that, right, she can't get out, and also this radiation is gonna kill her. So you need to
Yeah.
stop me, and trying to challenge the thing, but also him talking to Maki, and is like, you said you would help, and she's like, I want to, and he's like, well then start, and he gets mad and smacks the wall and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and he's starting to show that emotion. I'm like, I don't see the cold chief of like, kind of like in what can I compare it to? Like Infinite, he had emotion, a little bit of emotion, towards the end,
Mhm.
but in the beginning is just like he's like, don't talk to me, focus on the mission, and the person that kept talking to him, um, would try to pry doors, and he's just like, next thing, like we're going to the next mission. This is the objective. So
Mhm.
I'm wondering what's gonna happen because he can't show that. Like when they get to Halo, actual Halo, I feel
But
like he
that's the
can't.
thing, though.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that's the thing though. That's why I'm saying what I was saying earlier is that I don't think we're getting like this is their own thing. We're
Yeah.
not like I think we can escape from the whole like this is not going to lead us to the Master Chief that we know. Like unless they do something drastic like you said, it's not going to lead us into the video games. Like they might pull parts from it, but they're not it's not going to lead us to the Master Chief that we know from the games. Like I feel like they built their own Master Chief here to have emotion, to be intimate, to be like, you know what I mean, express himself. That's why they did the whole facial expressions. That's why they're making him show his face and things like that. Because I think that's the Master Chief they want to progress with. Now that, like I said, I'm wondering, I want to know how everything is going to be taken in and how well the show is doing because I feel like if you lose a certain fan base, especially the Halo fan base, which is who you're targeting first in the first place, how much of the new people can you bring in to make this show continue? And I think that's going to be the interesting um, perspective when you're like when you look at it from the business and from the are we going to get a second season, you know, like lens. So I don't think we're going to get the chief that we know, and I think I don't, and I think it's we should have, and I don't think like which is why again I said what I said. Like you don't need. I don't think you needed Master Chief in this episode. You could have done. I mean, in the show, you could have done all that with Maki,
Yeah.
right? You could have done all that. You could have focused more on Maki and the UNC, like fleshed out her storyline more, and have her be the person that discovers Halo. Have Halo get discovered, and then Master Chief is now then sent on a mission to stop Halo. And then we start from where we started from in the games, and we just get a shit ton of action scenes, which you know what I mean. I think a lot of people would have been okay with that.
I would have
Like
been
you know what I
fine
mean?
starting it like the game with on the Pillar of
Yeah,
Autumn, and
yeah.
you don't even see the Covenant. Like you see the
But
feet
again,
a little
yeah,
bit, and
that would have been
yeah,
us though. But again, I don't know. There's no way to ever judge how many people also would have felt that way.
yeah,
Because I think that's one of the things that's really difficult that when, you know, we need like just putting things in perspective is we never know, especially in a sense of like if it doesn't happen, we never know how the if the other thing was going to work. We can speculate and say it might have worked, but we don't know. And
yeah,
then it's the same thing on the other side. Like we're what we're watching is you know, obviously going to be canon for what it is, but we don't know if these changes would have helped it or hurt it, or are these changes hurting it currently? Because we don't have any of those numbers. So it's one of those things where we find out as soon as they let us know, is there going to be a season two? If they say no season two, then we know this probably didn't go the way they thought it was going to go. And those changes ultimately hurt, or they just didn't get enough viewers to keep it in order to you know, warrant making a second season. So I am interested to see where this show goes. I mean, we got it says the Wikipedia page is saying that there's 9 episodes. I saw somewhere else that said it was 10 episodes. So I'm not sure how many more, like if it's 9 or 10, but also I felt like you know, we could have made this 6. You could have cut 4 episodes off. We'll see what happens in these next 3, but I do feel like this could have been like you can do limited series and still get the want and the need that you know people want. I mean, look at Watchmen. Watchmen did a really good job at making a 1 season show and not needing a second season, even though everyone wants a second season. But you can do it. Like it is possible. It's just, you know, people want to push their streaming services and make money and do all that good stuff. So we kind of have to try to find the balance, which I think is difficult. But yeah, so that would be what I have to say about that. What was your favorite part of the episode?
favorite part of the episode would have to be, um, dang, I'm gonna say that Halsey scene when he puts
Mm-hmm.
her in the chamber, and you see him like he's fed up with the lies and everything like that, and you see the whole time like she in the beginning of the episode when he's in the other room and you know it starts off with him sitting there and he's thinking about the fight but also his visions and all this other stuff, and there's a moment where he looks up at Halsey and Halsey and him their eyes lock and she
Mm-hmm.
smirks at him and then just like oh wait, like he's not happy with me, right? And I'm like, yeah, he's not happy with you. What do you mean? He's like, if he could, he'd kill you right now, but he knows you can stop him. So just that whole scene of him like casually walking up, locks the door. She's like, "What are you doing?" And then he's like, "Oh, he's like, I'm." He's like, "It's my turn to show
Mhm.
you, like, not to piss me off." So I did like that a lot.
Yeah, I think the whole Halsey scene, even with the scene with Miranda, that'd probably be my favorite. I think Natasha McLaurin is fantastic. I think as far as an actress and just Cortana, and I think she's just been so good at like she has been the highlight for me for this show, and that's why I also think this show feels like a Halsey origin story. But she's just also been so good, like what I mean, like just her expressions and that this deceptionness of, and then you I do like that this episode gave you a reason on why she feels this way. Like she feels like that she's protecting humanity and that she's doing the whole like what a lot of people feel conflicted with. Like, do you save two people? Like, do you save two people and then lose a billion, or do you save, what I mean? Do you let those two people go and then you save a billion? And I think her portraying that emotion and all of that, and just still having the slick comments with as Cortana when when she goes how are your vitals? And then he goes, have you had a scan? And he goes, no. And she was like, well, I have, and it's not good. Like, you know what I mean? So like just having that Cortana banter still makes it really good. And just I think it's so cool that she's able to like have a role in this and then still be Cortana. I think she's doing a fantastic job. I would say that scene, especially the one with Miranda, where she's basically like just being like, you could tell that how strong she wants her plan to work, but she's willing to even like, and not that she didn't have truth behind what she was saying, but you could tell that this was still for a reason, not because like, yeah, I
Bro,
wanted to express this to you, but also I still want to see this through. Like
yeah, like
this
whenever
is
I
like
saw
my
when
life
that happened
perspective.
and she cries and everything, I was like,
Mhm.
oh man, this is like a sentimental moment with her.
Yeah,
Wow. And then she's like calls for her, the guy, and
yeah.
she takes out the contact. I'm like, this bitch.
Yeah. And that's how she's supposed to be
Yeah,
because she's
exactly.
supposed to be the villain. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think she's doing such a fantastic job, and I just wanted to give her props on that. But that is going to wrap it up for us, guys. Thank you for joining us. Please, again, like, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff. Leave a comment below. Let us know what you guys think about the episode. We would love to hear your guys' opinion. And if you guys are on Spotify, I will leave a little poll. You guys can answer the poll. I can even leave questions on there if you're Spotify listeners. Hopefully they add that to everything else, but that's just a little cool feature that we have. But until next time, guys, Fire Team out.